What is up, guys? Welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. Today, we have a local guest.
This is Pau Thang.
Yeah.
Hopefully I got it all right.
You got it right.
He works for EXP Realty, so that's something that we have in common. Dakota and I both have our licenses through EXP. However, Pau is a lot more of an agent. He is in coaching with the Chevron group, Austin Chevron. We'd have had him on the podcast before. The reason that I wanted to interview Pau, though, is because I saw on John Good's Real Estate Mastermind that Pau was in the running for having the most interesting story or the most transformational story. And so I started talking to Pau about that, and he was like, yeah, I immigrated here from Burma. Like, I'm not originally American. And I was like, well, that's like interesting, noteworthy, and
People can't really tell that, right?
Well, you speak really good English, that's for sure.
Thank you. Actually, a lot of practice. When I started, moved here when I was 5th grade, so that was my first year of school here in the United States. So
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So when you first came here, you didn't come straight to Fort Wayne.
Nope.
You were in Cincinnati?
Actually, Bloomington, Indiana for 10 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then after that, we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. My dad wanted to go to seminary school, Cincinnati Bible College Seminary. So, and then we were there for a good 3.5, 4 years almost for him to finish out. And then we moved to Fort Wayne in 2001.
Wow.
Okay. So I was looking at the culture of Burma in general, and it said that the predominant religion there would be Buddhism.
Correct.
Or a form of Buddhism.
Correct.
And so when did your father become a Christian, and how did that influence him at all to move to the U.S.?
Yes, and yes, and yes. So Burma is diverse. You've got mainly Buddhism, but you have eight major ethnic groups, each with their own language, culture, customs, everything. So I'm a part of the Chin ethnic group. So predominantly Chin is on the east side of Burma, hills, mountains, and a lot of missionaries were sent over there, and predominantly the Chin ethnic groups are all Christian. So my father's mother, my grandmother, she converted to Christianity in her village, and from that, then my dad, was raised Christian, and a lot of people in our village it's all Christian 100%. So from that, he because of the village, it's being poor, didn't grow up with anything. His father passed away when he was maybe 2 or younger, so he didn't have a father figure growing up. Single mother in a village, being raised. He tells me stories about how he had to walk 6 miles a day just to go to school. He didn't have his first shoes until he was like in the 8th grade or something. Yeah. So, but he had a lot, he dreamed big. He had a lot of aspirations, and he decided to move to Rangoon, the capital city, and got his, college degrees and everything. So, yeah, it's a inspirational story just in my father alone, and in and of itself.
Wow.
Do you remember what it was like growing up before you came to America then? Like up until 5th grade, you had a different life.
Correct.
And what was that like? Like, did you have electricity? Did you have a lot of the things that we have here?
From till I was maybe 4 years old, I remember growing up in a hut type of house with thatch roof. It would leak whenever it rained. All you had was like as soon as you go in, there was like a little bedroom. There was like the kitchen area, and then another, not even a bedroom, but just like a something about this high. That's what they slept on. But so grew up with that. My dad was gone because he had a conversion experience with God, and so he decided to be in the ministry. And so to be trained for that, I remember he was gone a lot, maybe to Singapore or South Korea, just to get the biblical training because we didn't have a good training in Burma. So from that, we just moved from houses to houses, renting places out. So, yeah, electricity in Burma, it's not really reliable. It'll go out. We had a well. That was our water source. We had an outhouse. So, yeah.
Dang. There's not really even a sewer. No sewer.
Nope. You have to make your own sewer.
Dang.
So you can imagine flies, mosquitoes everywhere all the time.
So how excited were you to come to America then? And like, what was that transition like? Were your parents like,
my.
hey, we're going to America? And you're like, yay.
So like, America for us, when I was growing up, it was like the second best place you can be aside from heaven, right? Heaven is the ultimate, but then a step down from that is America. So we were all, I remember, like not being able to sleep, just dreaming, like, wow, I can't wait to, be there and see this, eat as much food as I want. And so, yeah.
Is it everything you dreamed of?
The food was not as big as I dreamed of. They're like, our food tastes better than what they've got. Theirs just looks good and big and everything, like a lot of meat, but when you actually eat the meat, it's like, oh, it's not as good.
Yeah.
But it's abundance here, So.
Was it everything you dreamed of? I feel like the longer you are somewhere, the more it starts to wear off. Does it feel like that now, where you're like, all right, this isn't as great as you dreamed it, or is it like, no, this is still awesome?
Oh yeah, this is still awesome. Like the more I learn about America, how it's founded, the more I guess I'm more of an American now than I am Burmese.
Right.
Coming in here out of 5th grade, so just more of an Americanized now, and just how blessed I am to be here, and that it's all a work of God. We didn't deserve it, we didn't plan it. Even the way we got here was my mom winning the green card lottery for first time applying it, and then we got it. So
is that not normal?
That is not normal. It's like winning a lottery, like the first time you play it and then you win it. So
wow.
A lot of people have been applying it every year, and they don't get it. But yeah.
So you got here, you got into Bloomington. Did you know a little bit of English when you came into Bloomington?
We knew ABCs. That's all we knew how to read, as far as like put but we wouldn't understand what we were reading. So
how
we had
long,
that basic back in Burma.
How long did it take you then to adopt the new language? Do you think it took like a year, 2 years? When did you actually feel like you understood it?
When you've been immersed in the school, and that I think naturally your brain is like, you better learn this or you're not going to survive at school, right? So for me, it took about a year just to be comfortable to speak out and express a few of my thoughts and feelings. But it took about maybe a good 2-3 years to be finally able to communicate and be understood.
Wow.
I would say. But being in an immersion helped, a lot of people here, I think nowadays, takes a little bit longer because they're just surrounded with their community that they're familiar with. So there's not that much of a, urgency in their part to learn the language. So.
Did you see differences in our education system too? Like, did you guys have desks? You probably didn't have like the brightly colored Spider-Man backpacks and stuff like that back in Burma.
Back in Burma, like there was no such thing as classroom decoration, right? It's just desks, chairs, the chalkboard. That's it.
Are you letting deals fall through the cracks because you don't have good systems in place?
We've been there before, and honestly, we've tried several different CRMs, and RE Simply has been the absolute best.
RE Simply tracks your KPIs, does automatic follow-ups for you, and even records incoming phone calls.
The system is very easy to use, and honestly, it has more features than we even know what to do with.
If you're looking for a great CRM, try RE Simply today.
Click the link in the description below.
Check it out now.
So what would you say are the biggest shift in, the east side of Burma, the Chin? What would you say is the biggest difference between that set of values and the American values that you recognized when you first got introduced?
So in the East in general, right, we're more family oriented, to the point where if we even see a stranger, we call them brother, sister, aunt, uncle. That's how we address, just to show respect. Can you be more detailed in your question? Like, what kind of values are we talking about?
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, in general, America is more concerned with the success of the individual.
Correct.
So we take pride in like, yeah, I did this kind of thing, versus it feels like a lot of folks who immigrate here came from an environment where it was more about like honoring your parents and like upholding traditions and respecting other people's views, but then also sacrificing your individualism for the group at the same time. And so then you come to America, and America is more like, hey, it's all up to you, and you're an individual, and you get to decide how you'd like things to be.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so I
so-
see what you mean. So like the way we grew up is, in our culture, we teach to, think about for your community. Like it's about community. So first we have your family unit, and then you brought it out to, your family tree, and then your village, and then your ethnicity, and then your country. We take all that into our consideration. When somebody's successful, we're all happy for him, right? So we all celebrate. So there's a sense of always putting into our mindset that, whatever you do, it reflects back to your, not just you, but not just your immediate family, but your community, your culture, and your country as a whole.
Do you guys, when you come to America, do you guys like to all stay in the same house? I know other people from other countries, I think India, people from India like to, have a big house and then they all stay in it. Are you guys very similar where like, all right,
Oh, yeah.
hey, let's stay tight knit?
Yeah, like if my parents would have it their own way, they would have a big house where, everybody would be living in the same house. And so like a duplex, triple, quadruplex would be a perfect situation for them.
Do you have, because you have your own homestead, so you have your own property. Is that something that you have like family living with you too?
Correct.
Okay.
I live with my mom and my older brother and his kids, his 7 kids, and my youngest brother. So
7 kids?
my oldest brother has 7 kids. Yeah.
How big is your house?
Basement, and then 2-story.
How many square foot?
About 3,000 something.
3,000, and how many people?
Last time I counted was 12.
How many bathrooms do you have?
1, 2, 3.
Three.
3 full bathrooms.
Dang.
Yep.
It's got some pillars and stuff. I checked it out. I just wanted to know.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It's a nice property.
I mean, I guess we kind of stuff that many people in this place. We got like 12 people here, and we're like here all the time. And we got 2 bathrooms, so I mean, I guess it's not that much different.
It helps that like the 4 or 5 of them are like toddlers and all that. But once they grow up, yeah, we might be thinking of a different setup.
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome. So one time we were driving downtown. Actually, no, we weren't driving. We were walking. We were door knocking. And we were door knocking in 06. And then we found this guy who had orange nails, and then he was like dyeing his hair orange, and I'm pretty sure he's Burmese. Is there any tradition or a certain reason of orange, or is that like any significant
His nails are orange?
Yeah, everything. He was like dyeing all of his hair and everything.
That's in our culture as well. But
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
usually guys don't paint their nails. So.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was like a tradition thing or something like that. I was like dyeing everything orange. I was like, man, maybe that's something from their country. No, that's not.
No, he's just weird.
He's just different.
Could have been a Buddhist thing too. Maybe the guy
No,
was.
they wouldn't wear. They would shave. There would be the monks will be bald and they would have saffron robe, but not paint their nails. No,
Huh.
no.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. How did you assume that he was Burmese?
I think it was just because he didn't speak English and then he was speaking Burmese.
Oh, so you know it was Burmese.
Pretty sure. Not 100.
Okay.
So, how is it that are you able to connect to multiple different Burmese cultures when it comes to getting folks as clients? So, as a realtor, are you able to connect with multiple Burmese cultures because you can speak somewhat common language that a lot of people who come over here have? And then, do you think that there's any judgment if they're, say, Buddhist or they have a different culture than you? Do you think that there's breaks in that where like you're Chin and so they, do you feel segregated?
Oh, definitely. Even in Burma itself, that's why we can't even get along civil war all the time because it's mainly the government, and then the ethnicity around it. They want their own state. They want their own constitution. But then there's from the government, it's like a pushback from that. And coming here in the United States, at first when the population in Fort Wayne was not as big as now it is, we kind of had like a sense of community. But now that each and even every ethnicity has their population has grown, now you're kind of seeing that segregation amongst the Chin, the Karen, the Mon, the Muslims, the Burmese. So, but we have the Burmese language. That's the national language of Burma. So we have that in common. The food kind of similar. But aside from that, they just like to stick in their own community. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a blessing and a curse in a way.
Mm. Yeah. So when a deal starts going sideways, you're like, well, there's a disconnect to begin with, so I'm not 100% responsible for like not being able to, because I feel like you have to have some emotional intelligence and be able to connect with your people and build rapport. But if there's a break there, then you're not able to influence those people to continue with, say, they get an inspection and they don't like the property anymore. You don't have enough rapport, influence, emotional intelligence, connection with that group to be like, hey, no, you guys should still buy this property.
Ah, I see what you mean. Okay. So when a deal goes sideways, it's of course the buyers always gonna blame the realtor, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter, how if you try to persuade them, be like, in our Burmese culture, we just call them pueza, right, which means like a broker, and it has a bad rap. Mm. So even though if you try to convince them to buy the house, they're kind of thinking in the back of their mind, oh, he's just like a sly, in America, in English, you would say a used car salesman, like a sneaky, sly. Mm-hmm. So they would even have that of a bad taste in their, in their mouth. So I just have to just explain to them the rules, the laws. This is what the law is in America. You can just have an emotional, decision to where, okay, I don't like the house anymore. You can just walk out, right? And then just explain to them like just the benefits of staying, mm-hmm. And what would it cost if you didn't. And then, does that answer a few?
No, that makes sense. So, I mean, as a realtor, well, what got you into being a realtor in the first place? Did your father, so you came over with your dad's a pastor,
yes.
So you're like, son, you should be a pastor, and then you're like, nah, I'm going to be a realtor, or how did that play out? How did you decide to get into real estate?
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate?
It's not like what you see on HGTV.
We created a course to show you how to really invest and create a profitable flipping and wholesaling business.
We show you where to find the money, how to find the deals, and how to negotiate the deals.
We go over live sales calls, including negotiations, scripts, role-playing, and so much more.
Everything that you need to know to flip houses is in this course. And if there's a video that we didn't make that you want, we'll make it for you.
This knowledge has made us well over $1 million, and it's available right now for $9.97. Click the link below.
Buy the course.
So yeah, coming to Fort Wayne, my dad started a church. So I, being bilingual, was
The translator?
yeah, translator for everything, running everywhere. So just kind of, at first I wanted to follow my dad's footstep, right? Be like, hey, like I think I want to follow and just take on his legacy or whatever that he has started here. Then went to Bible college just to pursue that, and then a lot of emotional turmoil was going on at that time. Just I had a big I guess a spiritual battle that I had to fight through. And that, I guess that kind of overtook a good 10 years of my life to where, I was in the world.
What was the spiritual battle?
Oh, wow, it's going to go deep, huh? Okay, why not? Let's be open about it. Okay. So I struggle a lot with my sexuality. I lived the homosexual lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So that being in the ministry, I knew that it wasn't gonna go together. So, yeah, I lived that lifestyle, and then back in 2020, I had a conversion experience, conversion moment where finally God said, "Hey, you're not that person anymore."
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, walk us through what happened with your dad at the time. So your dad's a pastor. You're going through this. Explain to me what happened with that relationship and what happened there. Because I was not expecting that. So this is definitely. I think it's still good to talk about what your relationship was like, what conversations you had, and how that went.
So so 2013, I would say. Yeah, then 2012, I finally said, "Hey, I don't want to be in the ministry anymore. It's just not the lifestyle that I see myself being in." So they were like, "Why?" And finally, it just came out to my mom and dad, my siblings, and they didn't take it well, right? They were sad. They were sad. They were confused, angry, but I still, receive a lot of love from them, so they always prayed for me and everything. But at that time, I thought that I knew that this is going to be my life, right? So I think just being, hearing all, listening to the world, the media, just trying to, say that you were born that way and all that lies and the culture that I consumed kind of took over my life.
Mm-hmm. For 10 years, you said? Or how long?
I would say 10 years.
Wow.
2020, so yeah.
So then what happened that brought you back, or what happened that got you to the point where you're like, I'm certain that Christianity is the answer?
So I always believed in God, right? I never doubted the existence of God. And then in order for me to live the lifestyle that I thought was correct, I had to conform God into who He is, and that the God that was going to be okay with my lifestyle, right? So that made it okay for me to live the way I live, right? So God is love. So if He's love, then He's going to accept me the way I am, and I can live the way I want to. As long as I love Him, then He's okay with me. That's the lifestyle that I lived. So in 2017, I moved to Arizona, start a sushi business with one of my best friend, one of my good friend, and being in that business, you're all day, making sushi and all that, and you have nothing but, occupy your mind with something, right? And so I started listening to a lot of political podcasts and religious podcasts, and through all that influence, I think God was working in my heart, just breaking every one of the barriers and lies that, that I have accepted. And eventually, one day, he came into my heart, my life, and just transformed it. Like, say, it's over now. You are my child, and I was like, I repented, I cried, said, I'm so sorry. This is not who I'm supposed to be, and so from then on, I decided to leave that lifestyle, and now, I've been, growing each day, every day, just living it.
So you closed up the sushi business.
COVID
COVID closed the sushi business.
Yeah, I was supposed to be doing sushi in Tucson, Arizona. So
In Tucson? Nice.
Tucson.
You got on a plane, you flew back to Fort Wayne,
Yep.
and you're like, I want to be part of the family again, more of a part of the family than I was previously.
Yes.
Because you kind of gotten disconnected from them for a minute. And so what got you into real estate then?
I was in real estate in 2013 before I moved. So before I make a decision to come back here, I think I'm going to go back and do real estate and kill it. So that's why I came back.
And then you got connected with EXP. You decided to do some coaching with the Chevron Group. What led to those decisions? What made you want to go with EXP? What made you want to join the Chevron Group and be part of that training?
EXP was because of Vaughn Laree. She was with Chevron and EXP at that time. So when I had to come back, I was like, why not join the other Burmese realtor that's in town instead of in competition? So that was an easy choice for me to be like, hey, Vaughn, I want to come back to Fort Wayne and do real estate again, and that's how I got connected with EXP and the Chevron and the coaching and stuff.
Was she one of the only Burmese in town?
So 2013, when I got my license, I was the first Burmese realtor. So and then she was doing Wells Fargo mortgaging at that time, and then when I moved, then I think she was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this." So she got her license.
Yep. And then since then, she moved to Florida. And there have been other folks that I've seen from the Burmese community come on to EXP. Mm-hmm. I've seen some folks with JM
Realty.
JM Realty.
Yeah.
And WADA.
21.
Yeah, WADA.
Century 21, and we have two other Burmese with Keller Williams.
Okay. And the Burmese community is growing here in Fort Wayne.
Yes.
We've noticed properties that previously would bring lower values in, rougher parts of town are now being acquired for cash. People are buying them cash as is. And like half of our buyers that have been able to do that cash as is purchase, seemingly, not sure if this is statistically accurate, but have been Burmese for the most part.
Yeah. A lot of them are moving to Fort Wayne from, bigger cities to where they have a lot of equity. When they sell that house, they have a lot of cash in hand. So when they come to Fort Wayne, the houses are significantly much more, affordable here. So they were able to buy cash and raise the property value up here in Fort Wayne. So a lot of the locals are here, they were kind of mad, man, you guys are coming out. You guys are raising our prices here.
Is there a particular reason that the Burmese are like, man, we want to go to Fort Wayne, or is it kind of similar?
Mainly because of religious reasons, because they have a mosque here. We have all the, if you're a mosque, there's mosque here. If you're Buddhist, there's Buddhist temples here, monasteries here. And if you're Christian, we've got all the denominations you can think of in
Yeah.
Christianity. So
Yeah.
we have one for every.
Yeah, it is funny. Like Fort Wayne's just far north enough. It still has a lot of like Christian Midwest values, but it's just far north enough that we're not quite part of the Bible Belt. We're not Kansas. We're not Oklahoma. We're not like that area, Kentucky, that sort of thing. We're just far north enough to where I feel like there's a mix of cultures. But it is interesting. You don't think of Fort Wayne as being this like hub for diversity either. Like it's mostly white people here for the most part. But
It's changing. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more Hispanics and stuff too. And then, Burmese is getting really big. I mean, we're turning into
it's
pretty
the
diverse.
factories, the economy, the work. If there's work to be done, a lot of people are going to immigrate here and, work, move. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's growing.
Pulling data lists like vacant houses, mortgage foreclosures, and tax delinquent properties is important to direct-to-seller marketing.
Batch Leads is the main platform where we store our sellers' data and skip trace owners for their phone numbers, emails, and addresses.
On other platforms, you end up having to pay twice for the same contact if you've already skip traced it. My favorite thing about Batch Leads is that if you skip traced a contact once, you never have to pay for that contact again.
Batch Leads has SMS texting campaigns, direct mail marketing, and Driving for Dollars app integrated in a simple-to-use interface.
Click the link below and try Batch Leads today.
So now that you're on the Chevron group, something that Austin Chevron talks about all the time is being able to create a schedule that you would actually like so that you can spend time with your family, do a lot of the things that you'd actually like to do. Do you spend time coaching folks before you take them on as clients? Do you set expectations? Do you only answer the phone during certain times? Are you kind of like the typical like on-call agent who's willing to work weekends, who wants to push and make things happen?
Right. So yeah, sometime, Austin is like, if you can just do like 10 or 20% of what I'm teaching you, your life will be better. So like you hear what he's teaching, you implement it, and then, where if you don't have your habits and if you're not committed, if you don't stick to it, you're gonna lose it. So So I'm more of a roller coaster ride with my progress in that. But whenever I do it, I see results, But it's hard to commit to the program. But I see that now, right? So the more you fail, the more you understand why you fail, then you try to work on that, and then you go at it again. But you are going to fail again. So
How do you find clients, or how have you found clients in the past?
I have been fortunate to just be all referrals. Yeah. So, if you're great at the service that you provide, then the referrals will come.
And when you get business too, is it like you're just a, quote unquote Burmese agent, or have you been able to get like other clients and other groups? Like, do you have a diverse client base when it comes to the people who you've served and helped?
I would say 90% Burmese, and then the other 10 would be American, Hispanic, and yeah.
Good deal.
Do you ever invest or help Burmese invest at all? Like, do you know any investors?
Yeah. Some clients that I work with, it's their third or fourth home.
Nice.
So, help them see that journey. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll say I see sometimes there's a mistranslation or somebody's not translating right. I've seen some interesting stuff happen with the Burmese community and people being taken advantage of that I noticed on a settlement statement. I don't want to mention any names or anything like that, but somebody I was like, man, they didn't know what they were doing. And so I was like, somebody needs to be there to help these people invest and kind of protect them and make sure that they're not getting taken advantage of. Because we were selling the property, and it was on the buyer's side with their agent. Their agent was doing some interesting stuff. So I was
Yeah.
hoping that you protect them and translate it right.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I go through the numbers with them, and then if there's anything fishy that I see, I'll question the other agent or the title company, or just go with the lender and like, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I'll tell you more after.
So, what is your why? What are you working toward, or what gets you up in the morning?
Right now, my why is just trying to, with everything that just that with my conversion and everything that that has led me so far to here. If I say that I know what my why is, that wouldn't be 100% accurate, right? So, I say that I know that a lot of people are looking up to me, looking at me, for guidance, for assistance, and I'm just trying to learn the best as I can so that I can guide them, coach them, or teach them, and be a good source of, advice. They can come to me and be like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm having this trouble. Do you know how to help me? And I want to be able to I know that I can't help everybody, but at least if I can just say, hey, go to this person, go to that person, be that resource. That's what that is my why, and that's what I'm trying to be.
Good deal. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have 4 brothers and 1 sister.
Dang.
Yeah.
So do you feel, I noticed in the, this is just typical of like a first generation immigrant family. There's like this incredible amount of pressure on you to be successful because your parents get to have the excuse of like, hey, we sacrificed everything to get here. Now you have to make us proud kind of thing. Do you feel that pressure?
I don't fortunately feel that much of a pressure from my parents, so because they're ministers, so they just want us to, focus on God and, just being the best for Him as you could be. That's the pressure I feel. But as far as success and everything, yes, they want us to be successful. They do have moments where they compare us with other people's kids that are doing better than us. But at the end of the day, if we are right with God, then my parents are happy. So,
do you feel like you have, like I know that you said that you don't necessarily have a why. Do you have some goals, dreams, ambitions, or something that's pulling you forward, something that you're looking to? Because it sounds like, from your parents' values perspective, like if you're right with God, then you're good. But then you also get feedback from like the Chevron group, and I'm sure theirs is like, hey, you need to like create this nest egg. You need to figure out your money so that like in the future, you're going to be able to take care of yourself and your family members and get all of the things that you want from life. It's more individualistic, just like American values in general. Do you feel like you're starting to identify more that way, like as more of an American, where you're like,
yes. Like, I mean, it's at the end of my journey, if I'm not able to be financially free, then I won't be able to help my community be of an influential person that, that they think that I can be. I can't help my mom since my dad passed away. So, I want to be able to just support her with everything that she would need. So when you look at it in that perspective, yes, you want to work towards that goal to where you can bless and give freely and as much as you want, to the causes that you really believe in. So,
when did your dad pass?
2018.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's a minute. It's been like 5 years.
5 years, I think. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your biggest struggle right now?
My biggest struggle is right now is myself. I'm my worst enemy, you know. But going to PSI really helped. so yeah, just a lot of negative thoughts that I have in myself, and old bad patterns, old habits, you know, and spiritually, you know, leaving the lifestyle that I led, you know, it doesn't mean that it just goes away, right? So you kind of have a constant struggle with that. So a lot of pressure in our community for me to get married, but I can't just be like, hey, I can't get married right now because this is this and this, you know, like I don't want to go through the whole story again.
There's pressure to get married
Oh yeah,
from your community.
yeah.
How come?
Just the normal society standard, you know. Once you're a person, you want to have kids, children, you know. They're like, who's gonna watch over you when you're old?
Yep. You used to have people asking those kind of questions then?
All the time. So
Wow.
the first thing they ask is, "Oh, are you married yet?"
Are you seeing anyone?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the first thing we would get each other, hey, how are you? Did you eat yet? Oh, you got fat. Oh, you got skinny. Oh, you got darker. Are you married yet?
Just the surface level stuff, and then straight to, are you married yet? My sister was saying that the last time we were with our family, they didn't ask her if she was going to get married to her boyfriend yet, so she felt better about that, because usually that's one of the questions everybody asks. It's like, hey, you guys going to get married?
I feel like they ask it just as a conversation starter.
Yeah.
And it's like it is annoying because, I was in a relationship for almost 4 years and is all everybody asks. And I'm like, dude, if you guys would stop asking me, it's actually more likely to happen. But the more I get asked, the more pressure and the more like, oh, now I don't feel like I'm as ready. And yeah, it's just interesting. What sect? Is there like a sect of Christianity that you guys are? Are you non-denominational? Or?
My dad, he is more of a non-denominational, like accept everybody, you know, try to be happy and harmony and all that. I grew up with that, you know, sect of Christianity, but going through my own journey and study, I'm more of a Calvinist, more of a Reformed.
Wow. All right. Well, not anybody knows what that means. I do know what that means, but let's explain it to the audience. Well, yeah, let's explain it. It's gonna be interesting. Let's explain it.
Where do you want to start?
What is Calvinist? Well, Reformed Calvinist. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah.
So Reformed Calvinist means that you believe in the five, the tulip is the abbreviate. What do you call it? Acronym. Total depravity. I don't know them top of my head, but TU. If you unlimited grace or TU, and then limited atonement, TULI. Anyways, I don't know the top of my head, but I know like
You're pretty close.
So perseverance of the saints is the P. So pretty much we believe in those five. We call them the chain of like the golden chain, right? So one happens after another. T, the total depravity, means that as human being, we all fallen human being. Even our free will, our will is in bondage to where we can't choose God, left to our own devices, right? God, like if we were to, yes, we have free will, but if we were to be left alone in our own will, we don't have the capacity to even choose God. Human being is fallen. We're always going to choose to go against God's will, to where Calvinists say that, because of our own will, is always going to choose against God. God has to change our will so that we will choose Him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else?
Anything else? TU. And what do you know what the U is? If you can just give me a word, then I can probably go.
I don't remember what the U is.
Okay.
Well, I guess the when Dakota was sort of summing it up to me, it's basically a belief that like if God is infinite and knows everything that's going to happen, it's already made decisions, and so things are it's sort of a belief in predestination,
Correct,
or
correct.
an element
Predestination.
of believing in Calvinism is predestination
Yes.
in general, because the infinite intelligence that runs everything knows more than we do, and so we have less of an ability to influence it than we think.
Unconditional election.
Yes, the LI, the unconditional election is. I think you just went into that, right? Predestination, the election, saying that God has elected people that He's going to save, and that for the glory of His Son. That's why He elects people.
So let's say some hypotheticals here, because I hear a lot of people talk about this. I was actually just talking to somebody about it. What is today? Wednesday? I had talked about it 2 days ago, actually, and so it was with a guy who is going to school for, I think he's getting his master's, doctorates or something in theology, but he is Catholic, and then he was basically saying that predestination is you're predestined and you're either chosen or you're not, and so then it doesn't matter what you do. You might as well, if you're chosen, then you just keep living like however you want. And if you don't, then like nothing else really matters. So you're either chosen or you're not, and it's not really that fair. What would you say to somebody who thought
That's kind of the view that I had for the longest time, fighting against Calvinism, because I was more of an Armenian, to where like, hey, we have human beings have free wills. Like if God chose us, and that makes us kind of a robot to like we don't have a free will. Like God wants us to freely choose Him, was kind of how I view the whole salvation and election. So I would say that. So what was the question again?
like if it's not fair and our lives don't matter anyway because we don't have a choice?
It's not fair that our life don't go.
Well, there's two. That's two.
He was basically just
I'm
justifying the Catholic that Dakota was talking about was kind of justifying his behaviors based on the fact that
Okay.
if God's already chosen,
Gotcha.
then
So,
who cares if I
unconditional election, right? Is kind of that. The acronym is that when God chooses you, like you just don't. You can't even say no. Like if you really understand the grace of God, what He has done for you, you are gonna want to live the best life that you can for Him, right? You're not gonna be like, oh, I'm saved. I'm saved already, so I'm gonna do whatever I want to now. No, right? Because if you're truly saved, and if you truly understand what God has done for you, the prices He paid, even though I don't deserve it, He chose you, and once you understand that, once you know that, you're just gonna want to live your life the best as you can for Him, to glorify Him.
Mm-hmm. And that'd be the irresistible grace.
Irresistible grace, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say whenever people would be like, well, that's not fair. God chose certain people and He didn't choose other people. That's not really fair.
The fair thing for God to do is to send us all to hell, right? That would be fair.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't have to have anyone in heaven with them. So that's fair. And the fact that He chose to not act in His fairness, but in His kindness and love and mercy, He elects people to be with Him.
So why would God, if He loves people, not save everyone then?
Why would He not save everyone if He loves people? Because God is not just a God of love, right? God is not just one character, right? He is all loving. Most people don't know that. But He's all vengeful and judge, right? So if He just because of His character, that He has to have judgment for sin. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. I have an analogy that I usually tell people. It helps make sense of this because to most people, it's a very brutal view of God, and most people refuse to believe any part of it because of emotions. A lot of times, it doesn't feel very emotionally good to say that we deserve hell. That's pretty bad. That's pretty brutal. You know what I mean? So most people are like, I don't want to believe that. So the way that the analogy that I heard that was very helpful for me to at least understand the idea conceptually was, it's basically like if there's a bunch of people who are on death row. They're all, they did horrible things. They murdered people. They raped people. They stole. They did some horrible things that they deserve to die. So they're on death row, right? They're all going to die the next day. Let's say there's 30 people. God goes in, or I'm sorry, let's not use God in this scenario. The judge goes in and says, hey, randomly saves, let's just say 5 people. Was he gracious in that moment to save the 5 people? Yes, because they deserve death. And so in that instance, he was then gracious because he saved their life, not based on anything they did, not based on who they were, anything like that. He just picked them, and they were still gracious because they did not get what they deserved, which is called grace, when you do not get what you deserve. And so even though the other 25 people died, he's still gracious, and he's also just in the sense that judge is just because they got what they deserved. And so that's basically predestination or Calvinism, like an analogy that made a lot more sense to me.
I've never heard that, but what really makes sense, the analogies that make sense was like, what is she supposed to say? Like, what can a dead person do? Because we're all dead. We're all headed to hell. What can a dead person do? Nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he chose people to be alive with him, right? So that's kind of the analogy. It was like, that clicked something in me, right? The other one was, you have a drowning person, right? He's always. Do you guys picture, like, do you know a picture where, like, you have your hand up and then Jesus pulls you up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says you're dead. You're already drowning. You're already in the sea. You can't. But God comes down and he drags you out of it from the deep, right? And then one more thing I think I can remember was, like, Paul. He was Saul, right? He was crucifying Christians. On his road to Damascus, he was going to crucify Christians. Did he say, oh, I want to, did he chose God? Did he say that I want to accept Jesus? No, Jesus came down and called him and saved him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool.
So we'll get into some final questions here. We're getting to, but we're at about the 50-minute mark. Usually we go about an hour. So this is one of the last questions we ask almost everyone. Maybe you've seen it if you've seen our short videos. This is your message to the world. So you have a final message. It could be a billboard in Times Square. It could be a paragraph. Someone reads at your eulogy. It could be just something that people see and they look at and they go like, oh yeah, I know that was Pau for sure. That's what he would have said. And it's your final message to the world. So you have one last message. It could be a sentence or an idea or a paragraph, but it's your final message. What is it?
Ooh, okay. I guess I can just go back to how I came to be the way I am. Is I think if you're gonna believe in something, do something, do it to the best of your ability. If you think that this idea is right, take it to take it to its end. Don't just stay in the middle, stay here and there, and be comfortable in it. Like if an idea comes, test it out. Like mentally be like, okay, if that's true, that's got to be true. That's like, just play that game out like to its end. And ultimately, right, there's got to be ultimately, right? Ultimately. So for me, like playing that question game kind of it's where I am today, right? Especially when it comes to religion and if you want to talk politics, like political views, like this idea, if you like live it out, test it out, all that, and what is going to be that result. So don't be comfortable with where you're at, but if you really think that you're living the right lifestyle that you think is right, if you really think that your religion is truly the truth, test it out, test out all the points of it. So
Awesome. How can people get a hold of you if they want to buy a house, sell a house, they want to talk to you, they want to reach out to you? How can people get a hold of you?
Well, don't call Tony or Dakota. Just give out my number. Is that what
If you want, yeah, you can give
I
out
have
your number.
Facebook, Pau Thang. You can reach me on Messenger, or you can reach me on my cell, 260-494-7553.
Awesome.
Call Pau now. Call Pau now.
Call Pau now. Get a house. All right. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers before we say goodbye?
If you guys want to just, learn more about my journey and everything, like, I'm more than willing to talk to you one-on-one, and just really, if you're struggling with anything, especially with your identity, I'll be happy to, guide you to some of the other podcasters I listen to that's really helped me grow in my journey. So don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to, talk to you, and hopefully we can have, brotherhood that's keeps growing and growing and growing, and help each other out, keep each other accountable. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.